Howdy. Let's chat real quick about Cheddar Late Than Dead, which is book 3 in the Grilled Cheese Mystery series by Linda Reilly. It is set to hit shelves on January 31st, but their team on NetGalley was kind enough to approve me for an e-reader arc. I've cross-posted a couple very short reviews from before I got fed up with trying to edit things in TikTok on the first couple of books here. This is one of my favorite series, and it's probably the one out of my favorites that just kind of epitomizes the cozy mystery genre, at least in a positive way. Also, since I read the second book, I actually got to spend the summer working at a soda fountain in Maine. While Maine is not Vermont, I'm from Mississippi, so it feels close enough for me. One of the limited menu items I made plenty of actually was grilled cheeses, so I feel even more connected to the setting now, even if the version I was making was not quite as sophisticated as some of Carly's. And so anyway, while I don't believe this series is particularly marketed at young newcomers to the genre, it is one of the ones that I recommend to folks my age who aren't familiar at all with the concept of cozy mysteries. This is because, one, I just think they're very enjoyably written, and two, they've kind of kept up with the times, so to speak. Linda Reilly has apparently been penning cozies for quite some time now, but the series overall lacks some of the dated characteristics that tend to crop up even in new releases in this genre. For example, I was reading some discussion on the Cozy Mystery subreddit recently, basically just lamenting how many books present prominent female characters who, frequently squabble over men, act like soap opera petty and demeaning towards each other all the time, and they'll have main characters who just kind of cringily ooze not like other girls energy, but at the same time they're also constantly yammering about needing to lose 10 pounds or feeling really guilty about having a cookie. In a way where it's not ever opposed within the narrative, where it's like that's how you're supposed to feel. And, it is 2023, and a lot of people aren't, not to say that they were ever fond of it, but they're more vocal about not being fond of it now. So, while this writing isn't entirely free of such instances, and I do think that this book in particular may have faltered a little in that regard, even though it was mostly all contained in a couple characters, which I'll get to in a moment. It's also got a somewhat diverse cast by cozy standards, and in the first book, it actually handled the issue of veteran homelessness with what I thought was a lot of care and dignity, so I appreciated that. But anyways, moving on to this book, I'll give you a quick rundown. Carly Hale, our protagonist, is in her early 30s, and she runs her own grilled cheese eatery that she opened after returning to her hometown of Balsamdale, Vermont, following the tragic early passing of her husband. We're a few years on from that at this point in the series. But anyway, one day, a couple women she went to high school with appears in one of her booths at the eatery. She hasn't seen them in ages. Their names are Clarissa and Dawn. She catches their discussion about the venue for Clarissa's wedding shower falling through, and she accidentally gets herself roped into catering the event at Dawn's mother's mansion. And I do mean mansion. So this is the part that all readers might not be quite jazzed about. This book relies really hard on some pretty extreme bridezilla behavior and some, housewivesy rich lady drama. But in all fairness, some folks really do act like that. And some of this behavior is set right, so to speak, by the end of the story. Wedding themes are a bit of a staple in Cozy series, whether it ever actually gets to the ceremony or not. And it was fun to see the menu that she came up with, even though I don't think she ever got a catering license, so the whole thing may have been technically illegal. But anyway, our legally ambiguous spread included grilled cheeses made with donut halves in place of the bread, accompanied with an array of both savory or sweet dipping sauces. So that may sound bad, and while I've never tried it personally, I actually had my family make donut cheeseburgers for like my 15th birthday supper, and I thought that was actually quite good. But within the book, at least, these were a hit. While the decadent nature of this dish is noted, I don't think there was much, if any, diet culture talk about those in this one. But I do apologize if I'm saying that in error. I've realized that I actually need to start keeping better notes as I go if I want to keep doing these. But anyway, nothing comes to mind. I'll just say that. I won't divulge much more on that plot line for fear of spoilers, but I will say that I thought the mystery could have maybe used some more robust red herrings. Redder herrings, I guess, because I am not particularly bright, and I did guess the culprit correctly about 70% of the way through the book. I will say, though, I still find that immensely preferable to the mysteries that give you no real clues, and it seems like they kind of just made it all up in the end and had the villain tell you what happened while you were doing something else entirely the whole rest of the book. But, yeah, I still thought it was well done. It's just, small critiques. Very random thought. I'll quote you a line from the book. I'll have a steaming pot of peppermint tea and some leftover lasagna waiting for you. That killed me because I don't know if it was intentionally funny or not, but that sounded like a perfectly awful combination. Anyway, other things, we have a new assistant manager named Valerie at the eatery. I quite like her. I think it was a good move as it's giving Carly a little more time away from the restaurant than she had previously. And I'd sort of like to see her pick up some kind of hobby unrelated to cooking with this new free time of hers. I think that would be fun to see in the upcoming books. Also, Grant the Golden Child has embarked upon a local healthy school lunch program. Basically, he's making like these little bento boxy Lunchables that have like cheese shaped like cats and stuff in them. I have mixed feelings about it. It's very wholesome overall, but he makes some comments about how many kids eat junk food and how much healthier the little cheese shapes and all are, and I could have done without that. Lots of kids are picky eaters regardless of what they have access to, my former self included. And while making like fun fresh fruit and vegetables available is certainly not a bad thing, I think judgments about what their lunches already have in them is usually really unwarranted. I think they're usually fine as long as they have enough to eat and they're happy. He also might have an older love interest connected to this, which is interesting, especially since, I don't know why, but I always feel like his character is simultaneously in high school and also 24 years old, but he is an adult, so I'm curious. I don't know where that's going to take us. Another random thought. Sorry, I'm having a lot of these, and I can't remember if I mentioned this in one of the previous reviews. Probably not because of how short they were. But I cannot express how much I love that Carly never changed her last name when she was married. I liked that when I started the series, but I love it so much more now since I did the same thing. I don't know if things are any different in New England. Probably not, but particularly in the South, it is just very generally assumed that you did change your name. So, that's special to me. Thank you, Linda Reilly, for including that and making a point of it. I don't want this to drag on. This book, just like the others, has the recipes at the back, including one for the donut grilled cheeses, and I've got to get around to trying those sometime. But anyway, take care and happy reading.